It's August 7, 2023, and it's a busy evening inside this police watch house in Brisbane.
He got locked up with his brother and they were just talking and just being funny for their mental health, just laughing like they're locked in a little shoebox and like he's just trying to kill his time.
Inside is a 17-year-old First Nations boy we'll call Jason. He's been here for 5 days.
The watch houses are an awful environment for a child, primarily because of its harsh, cold nature. They're watched at all times. They have no access to sunlight, no access to fresh air, and very little stimulation.
They're designed originally to detain adults. Things that are absolutely fundamentally necessary for the development of a child or young person are more often absent from those environments. And so it's a particularly cruel form, of custody. It's harmful.
Jason's facing multiple charges, including car theft. He's in an internal exercise yard on a break. Police ask him to move back into his adjoining cell.
He was calling out to his brother and yelling out. He'd been told by the guards to stop doing that, and I understand he became abusive towards the guards, but the guards are nowhere in sight. After a period of time, he starts moving his mattress back into his cell.
2 police officers enter the room, one wielding a baton. Within seconds, Jason is in a headlock. A 3rd officer enters the room. The incident lasts for around 2 minutes.
The use of force was excessive and disproportionate to what appears to have been going on in the video.
Catherine Hayes is the CEO of a free legal service for young people which is representing Jason.
Once a young person has been mistreated by police in this way, they're more likely to reoffend as they exit any kind of detention centre or watch house angry and frustrated.
Jason's mother, who we'll call Rachel, agrees the force used on her son was excessive.
It's really confronting. I don't hurt my children, so what gives anybody else a right to be physically violent?
I was appalled, the way that sickened me to think, here, this young boy, a defenceless young boy, unarmed, and here, 3 policemen.
Reverend Auntie Alex Gator is an elder and former prison chaplain who has long advocated for First Nations children in the youth justice system. She's seen the footage.
I would like to meet with those 3 policemen face to face, and I want to ask them why. And we would like to see these police brought to justice, be stood down.
Jason was charged with assaulting and obstructing police over the incident. The charges were later withdrawn.
This is an isolated incident. Unfortunately, on occasions where uses of force occur, it comes down to individual situations and decisions made by individual officers.
Chief Superintendent Rhys Wildman oversees South Brisbane District, including the Richlands Police Watch House. He says the use of force was justified and no one was injured.
The offender has actually grabbed the officer around the waist, and that's how it turned into a wrestling situation on the ground. To use 3 individuals to restrain 1 person just again reinforces the level of aggression that the officers were facing at that particular moment.
The video clearly shows he had started to comply with the instructions to move his mattress back into the cell. So are you comfortable with that use of force?
The information we have is that the behaviour displayed by that young person led the officers to actually utilise the use of force.
And what was that behaviour?
Well, I won't go into the details around the language, but there was complaints from other individuals in the watch house, prisoners that were housed in that watch house, and the officers had to make a decision to relocate that young person into that cell.
Police say they tried to de-escalate the situation before they entered the room.
There's other conversations being had with that individual to try and get them to calm down. And one of those is the intercom. And on this occasion, unfortunately, that young person did not calm down, and the actions of the officers had to be conducted.
Jason made a complaint that an officer used excessive force by choking and striking him with a baton. Police say an ethical standards investigation overseen by the state's corruption watchdog found the use of force was reasonable and lawful.
It's inevitable that there'll be tension and bad behaviour if young people are held in watch houses for long periods of time. But despite any history of offending or any kind of background, there in no way is any justification for how this young person was treated by the police officers.
A lot of people would think that he is like just a rough little kid. And in black and white it says that, but that's not who he is. If he sees somebody doing it tough, he will give them whatever's in his hand, you know.
Rachel says Jason struggled after she and his father separated when he was 12 and he disengaged from school.
Times were just really tough, you know, financially. He wasn't able to do like sports and that because, you know, the money just wasn't there, and it was myself looking after other children. And I just feel like it would have helped release some of the tension, the pain that he was going through with the split of his father and I.
Since then, Jason lost his dad, an uncle, and his best friend to suicide. And he's had multiple stints in police watch houses and youth detention for dozens of offences, including stealing and car theft. Jason is currently in youth detention on remand for further charges, including robbery.
And along the way, there's been no healing for him, you know. I think he just has become good at like masking that hurt and pain and just being somebody else. He just had to grow way before his time.
Natalie Lewis is a commissioner for the Queensland Family and Child Commission. What is your view of that use of force by police?
There's violence against a child. I think that, you know, whether they're 10 years old or 17 years old, that is a child in an environment where they're owed a duty of care. And to see that level of violence against a child is distressing. It's abhorrent.
Commissioner Lewis has written to the police and the Queensland Ombudsman about the incident.
The child is entitled to exactly the same expectation that we would have for any victim of violence, and that's that they are listened to and that they're heard, and that matter is investigated in a way that is fulsome and that is transparent.
Queensland's youth detention centres are full, forcing children to be held in police watch houses, sometimes for weeks. Despite the state government earlier promising to fix the problem, the last 18 months have seen numbers at a 5-year high. Queensland's Youth Justice Department told 730 that since January, the number of young people in watch houses has reduced, and a new remand facility will be open at the end of the year.
In my last experience, there were 21 children in a watch house, and every single face that I saw was an Aboriginal boy. And that is heartbreaking.
This government, they're going to be made accountable. And we're talking about truth, we're talking about reconciliation and closing the gap. This is not closing the gap. This is not treaty. Reconciliation means making it right.
And the number for Lifeline is 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue 1300 22 46 36.